This video is 5 seconds long.
Okay guys, so I caught a ghost in my house. I don't know how many people are actually gonna watch this, but this is what I caught in my hallway during quarantine. My house has always been haunted. All I did was lighten up the photos so that you guys can see it a little bit better. Let me know what you think. Like what?
Oh my god. Oh my god. The light switch are right there. The dog's freaking out.
Bro, no, there's somebody up there, bro.
Hold on.
I don't think anybody lives there.
This is the scariest video I've ever seen. Watch closely. This guy apparently has a ghost of a kid in his apartment. Look closely. Did you see it? Here, look again, you might miss it. The ghost was making stuff all over, but then this happens. If you looked really closely, after the ghost was throwing stuff around, as he passes the mirror, you can actually see the ghost in the mirror. And then when he goes back by it, it's gone. Rewatch this video and tell me if you see it too. And click that plus icon for daily ghost videos.
Spooky friends, you know there's a lot of famous poltergeist stories. The Enfield poltergeist, the Bell Witch, but there's one in Canada that's absolutely terrifying and hardly ever talked about, which is a shame. It's called the Dag poltergeist. The story begins September 15th of 1889. A young orphan named Dinah, who's 11 years old at the time, is adopted into the McLean family. Almost immediately, poltergeist activity ensues in the home. It's what you'd expect, objects flying around the home, chairs rocking by themselves, and a lot of it is taken out on Dinah. It actually gets worse. When Dinah is around, there's a male voice that comes through everywhere. Inside the house and outside the house. He's not always mean, but anytime someone tries to tell him to leave Dinah alone, he takes it out on her brutally. 16 people, including clergymen and lawmen, signed into account that they witnessed the poltergeist firsthand. People traveled all over just to see this poltergeist. Small town of Clarendon, 10 kilometers from Chabot, Quebec. It's home to an intelligent poltergeist. I'm gonna have a part 2, but I'm gonna link it in the comments.
Secret tape, referred only as Ronald Reagan cut up whilst talking, is a strange distorted videotape of Ronald Reagan making his evil empire speech. The tape itself is made from all the normal materials that you would expect to get from a Betamax tape. It was originally encountered by a filing clerk in the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library in 1991, 11 years after this original speech was made. During the tape, Reagan's face seems to fall apart, cuts opening up on his face, and eyes becoming bruised. The video continues until his vocal cords are severed. Occasionally during the beginning of the tape, a figure clothed in black robes and a pointed hood appears in the background, which replaces another member of the press detail. The original tape is supposedly kept inside of a secure video storage unit in the media archive of a classified CIA unit. Years of natural magnetic interference have severely degraded the tape's signal quality, making it even more difficult to sift meaningful information from continued playbacks.
You guys, I'm in here trying to do dishes right now, and I just heard that toy going off again, and I'm freaking out. I'm the only person here right now. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. No, it's doing a different song. Look at that little creepy man dancing. Oh, please no. Oh my, what was that? Oh my god. What? No. You guys, I'm freaking out right. Oh.
I have been a casual Reddit observer for years. While investigating true crime, it's a great place to go to find out the strongest theories being discussed by the interweb sleuths. I've definitely fallen down a few rabbit holes along the way. One in particular was an entire thread of forest rangers discussing the truly macabre things they've allegedly witnessed in the forest. A popular happening seems to be sightings of demonic staircases in the bowels of the woods. Some rangers have reported that if they dare climb the stairs, the person they were seeking would never be found. Another story claimed that while attempting a search and rescue, a man came across a bizarre humanoid creature with a twisted face. When it would open its mouth, it looked like a giant black abyss, and horrific, piercing, screeching noises would come from within. He began running, but the creature seemed to gain on him at a freakish pace. You might be wondering why I'm telling you of these creepy stories. Well, it's because my next case reminded me of these. It's so eerie and mysterious that I wonder if the freaks inhabiting the forest had something to do with it. And I am about to drop episode 1 now.
The most horrifying ways to die. Rats. And yes, I said that right. Rats. During the medieval times in Europe and China, they would use rats as a common form of torture. You might be wondering, how do you die from a small rat? Well, it's actually a lot more simple than it seems. The guards would place a prisoner on a flat surface, tying up their arms and their legs, pretty much so the body was completely flat. They then would use some sort of knife or sharp object to cut off the prisoner's clothes so that the prisoner would lay there completely naked. Here comes the torture. They then would place a small rat into a metal pot and then flip it upside down so the rat could not escape. They then would take a torch and heat the outside of the metal pot so that the rat would feel extremely uncomfortable. Pretty much it'd make the rat feel like it was burning alive. So that makes the rat want to escape. How do you think the rat escapes? The rat then would dig down into your flesh, eating and tearing up every single organ, leaving out of your backside. If you guys want to see more content like this, make sure to like and follow.
So my house is super fucking paranormal, and this is the first incident I had. So in 6th grade, I had 3 friends over and we were playing hide and go seek. So I hid in the pantry and there's no way anybody could hear me. There's no vents and I wasn't even talking. So I'm sitting there like, cause like I wanted the wind to fuck. So I'm sitting in there and 10 minutes pass and I hear my friends talking downstairs. So I go down there and I'm like, did y'all give up? And they look at me, they're like, we thought you were in the crawl space. I was like, no. They were like, no, we were literally talking to somebody in the crawl space. And they said like, it was this little girl like asking for help and shit. So I get freaked out and I'm like looking around, I'm like, what the fuck? And around 2 minutes later, the doorknob to the crawl space starts going like this, like shaking and shit. So I literally had a heart attack and I was like, okay, we're leaving. So we grabbed all of our shit, we grabbed my dog and we went in front of the house. I called my dad crying. I was like, there's something in this fucking house. And he was like, no, the fuck there's not. So he gets home, he checks the house. He's like, y'all are stupid. Like, there's no shit here. But we all heard it and we all saw the doorknob shake. And it only got worse from then.
Wait until you see the ghost of a little girl who appears to be haunting the home of her killer. That's the picture there. I'll show you more in a second. But that's Chris Watt. You remember the story. 2018, he murdered his whole family, 2 little girls and his wife. The only reason he was caught was because he was caught on security camera footage pulling out of the driveway, and his neighbors caught it on camera. Then he teamed up with police and sent a canine unit into his house, and he was pretending the whole time that he didn't know where his family was. But on video, as the canine unit's walking through the house, look up on the staircase. Do you see the apparition of a little girl walking down the stairs? I'm going to slow it down even more for you. Is this a little girl standing right there, as if to say, Daddy, I'm here. You're the man that killed me. I'm looking over the railing at you while you're walking through the house with police pretending you don't know that you killed me. What do you think it is? Is it her? Look at her hands on the railing. That looks like a little girl. What do you think?
So here's the story about the time a ghost followed me home. I'll probably have my parents put their input in because they were here and experienced the whole thing. So I'm a YouTuber and most of my videos are me exploring the most haunted places in the world. So my friend and I, we were going to a lot of these haunted places filming consistently. I don't know where we went, but it was either the Queen Mary or I think the Mission in San Juan Capistrano. Not sure which one, but we were there prior to this happening. So her and I were on our way to the Hotel del Coronado to film another haunted video. And I receive a call from my parents freaking out. I've never seen my dad freaked out like this. He was like, you need to stop with this ghost shit. You need to come home. Like, you can't do this anymore. And obviously I'm very confused. So he explains what happened and it was insane. And I'm posting part 2 right now so you don't have to wait for it.
Let's talk about the Ghost of the Bath. Blythewood Square in Glasgow was the place to be in the 1800s, but when Captain Smith moved his family there, little did they know of its dark and sinister past. One night, he was getting ready to have a bath when he saw the apparition of a beautiful woman strangling someone in the bathtub. Weeks later, his son was using the bathroom when he saw a bloated, lifeless body of an elderly man submerged in the bath. Apparently, the house had previously been occupied by a wealthy elderly gentleman who, as frailty set in, became increasingly dependent on his young nursemaid, who, seeing an opportunity to enrich herself, persuaded the old man to make her his wife. Several weeks later, the man was reported dead, said to have drowned in the bath. Shortly after the old man's funeral, the property was put up for sale and the young woman was never seen again.
Did you know that the Conjuring actually really happened and it's not just a made-up story? What? So in 1971, the Perrin family moved into this old 14-bedroom farmhouse in Rhode Island, and the ghosts made themselves known as soon as they moved in. It started off with little things like the ghost hiding the broom and leaving little dirt piles around the house. And there was more than one spirit in this not creepy looking house. The daughters began to notice that some of the spirits were harmless, but then there were some that were actually really angry. So the mom decided to do some research on the history of the house. She discovered that over the 8 generations of families that lived in the house, the kids were dying mysteriously. Some of them drowned, one was murdered, and even some of them hung themselves in the attic. Then she found out about Bathsheba. Bathsheba Sherman lived in the house in the 1800s and was a known Satanist and supposedly had something to do with one of the neighbor kids dying. And she was the bad spirit. And that's when the Warrens stepped in. Over the next 10 years, the Warrens tried to help the family by communicating with the spirits that were possessing them, but then the mom got possessed and was speaking tongues and got thrown across the room. So the husband kicked the Warrens out. The family was haunted until they ended up moving.
Sorry guys, I've been crying because I lost my pants, but I have a scary story. So last night around 4 a.m. I woke up to my dog barking. And I'm a light fucking sleeper, so I obviously woke up to him barking. And we have a gate blocking the stairs that lead to the basement because every time that dog goes in the basement, he chews up shit. So when I get out of my room, he's barking at the gate, like, leading to the basement. And I'm like, you know, this dog needs to shut the fuck up because I need to go to bed, so I let him go downstairs. And as soon as I move the gate, he fucking speeds downstairs. I'm getting fucking chills talking about this. So once he goes down there, I hear him go into like the main room and he just starts barking again. So I go downstairs with him to see what he's barking at. And when I go down there, all he does is stare at me and stop barking. I literally can't. I'm getting chills. I hate this. So he looks at me and then he looks back at where he was barking and he just starts sniffing the air like he was sniffing a person. So I ran my happy ass back upstairs and went to bed and cried. And it only gets worse.